Hey guys, today we're going to talk about baby monitors. Now, this is a subject I really wanted to kind of shoot for a while now because I'm really kind of surrounded by new parents in my close family now. And this is really a subject I take quite personally because our newborn babies, they seem to be really the most vulnerable to this type of electromagnetic stress as opposed to like a mature adult. And this is really important for new parents to know because we really need to pay more close attention to our babies' rooms and really the rooms where our babies spend most of their time. And this means we really need to kind of make sure that we're kind of limiting our use to some of these electromagnetic devices. Like Wi-Fi, we've already talked about that in previous videos, like your cell phone, kind of showed you what your cell phone is actually doing in the videos that I just posted. And now this one here, you can see that we're going to talk about baby monitors because just about every parent that I've come in contact with is either using these baby monitors or in their home or has seriously considered using them. Now, if you guys are really interested in kind of looking at more science that's really been done on really the nature of these EMFs on our children's health, then really just go over to my website, go over to energyalignmentsolutions.com and click this About Us tab and click the EMF health risks. And if you scroll down to the very bottom here, what you'll see is I got about 4 different videos posted here. And I mean, if you guys get some time, these are great videos to watch here. And they're really 4 different scientists kind of, doing some scientific work in different areas. And some of the work they've done is really quite outstanding. And one in particular here, as you can see in front of you, Dr. Erica Mallory Blythe. This is one doctor that's done some really amazing research on really the nature of these EMFs on our children's health specifically. So if you guys get a chance, I would highly recommend you watch this because it'll really put a lot of this into more perspective for you guys. Now, there's only really 2 baby monitoring systems that I'm going to be testing for you guys in this video. And the reason for that is because I want to kind of just focus in on the technology that's used here. And the first one here, as you can see on the left, it's really a baby monitoring system that hooks up directly to your Wi-Fi. Really, what you get a camera that you place next to your baby's crib, and you can actually just use your existing smartphone. And all you really need to do is just kind of download an app and connect your smartphone and the camera to your existing Wi-Fi network. And you can really do a lot of the basic kind of baby monitoring features with this type of system. Now, the second system that I'm going to be testing for you guys is kind of shown here on the right. And the technology that's used is actually what's called FHSS. And what that stands for is it stands for frequency hopping spread spectrum. So what you get with this system here is instead of using your existing smartphone and Wi-Fi network, what you get is kind of a standalone type of LCD screen. And what this does is it kind of communicates directly to the camera that's next to your baby's crib. So there's a communication kind of protocol here that's happening kind of direct between the LCD monitor and the camera. But one key feature here that really stands out to me with this type of technology here, this FHSS, is it's actually the range that you can cover. So with this type of technology, you can actually go up to 1,000 feet with this device here. And for me, that's always a cause for concern because if we're sending these electromagnetic waves kind of that far in distance, what we need to do is we're going to need a lot more electric power to kind of do that. And that means these electromagnetic waves in the environment, they're going to be much more intense than kind of what we would see with our Wi-Fi system because our Wi-Fi system doesn't cover that large of a range. So this is really a key issue for me. And we're going to see what kind of electromagnetic intensity we're measuring with this specific kind of baby monitor. Now, there's a third technology that's also out there as well. And it's a technology that's actually called DECT. And what that stands for is it stands for Digitally Enhanced Cordless Telecommunications. And this is a technology that like most of your cordless phones, if you guys still have them, this operates on the same DECT technology. And it uses a different, more dedicated frequency here. It uses 1.9 gigahertz as opposed to the 2.4 gigahertz. But for this video here, I'm kind of ignoring that technology for now, because I wanted to kind of just stick on this 2.4 gigahertz frequency here, because with this frequency here, I'm seeing a lot of potential issues here, because we have to remember this frequency operates kind of directly on water. So a lot of studies are really showing that these frequencies here are really becoming really problematic. So let's jump in and do some testing here. And the first system that we're going to be looking at is this Wi-Fi system. As you can see up here in the top left of your screen here, this is kind of the setup that I have. So you can see here, we've got a tripod here. This is where I'm going to be placing the camera. And about 4 feet away, you can see this is where I'm going to be placing my meter. So really what I'm kind of trying to simulate here is really the baby's crib. So where I've got my meter would be kind of where your baby would be in the crib. And the camera, as you can see, is about 4 feet away from the baby. So really the first test that I'm doing here is I kind of want to just establish a baseline here, because when we're using these Wi-Fi baby monitors, you need Wi-Fi. So I kind of want to just measure the ambient type of Wi-Fi intensity in the background when we're not using this baby monitor yet. And as you can see down here in the bottom here, I'm just kind of using my general type of EMF meter for these tests, because I think this is quite adequate. And this EMF meter that I have, I can actually tune it right to this 2.4 gigahertz. And I'll really just be kind of just measuring the power density of these electromagnetic signals here. So with this first test, what you can see I'm measuring here is a peak measurement of 342 microwatts per meter squared. So this is kind of the ambient type of Wi-Fi environment that the newborn baby would kind of be experiencing here when the baby monitors aren't even running yet. Now, the second test that I'm going to be doing is actually upstairs in the parent's room. So you can see here in the middle at the top here, you can see we've got our smartphone kind of sitting here on the bedside table. And I'm going to be placing my meters here on the bed where the parent would be sleeping, especially when the infant is sleeping, so you can kind of monitor what's going on with your child throughout the night. As you can see down here in the bottom center of your screen, what I'm measuring is about 86 microwatts per meter squared. So this is actually quite a low reading to have when the Wi-Fi is running. And one of the reasons for that is because I have my Wi-Fi in kind of the main floor. And where I am right now taking these measurements is I am upstairs in the kind of the furthest corner of my house. So the Wi-Fi signal actually has to come up through the floor, and it has to go through multiple different walls to kind of get into this space here. So a lot of these objects here are going to kind of attenuate a lot of that signal down. But really, ultimately, in kind of both cases here, in kind of the baby's crib and in the parent's room, you can see with these two readings here, even though the baby monitoring system isn't even on yet, we're kind of sitting here in more of a severe type of situation here, according to the building biologist guidelines. So the next test that we're going to do here is we're actually going to kind of keep the exact same setup. I have the Wi-Fi is still running. And what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be powering up the camera, and we're going to be turning the app on the smartphone on. So with this first measurement that you're kind of seeing down here in the bottom left of your screen here, is I'm actually taking the readings in the baby's crib in this case. And you can see the measurements that I'm getting, the peak measurements now with this baby monitor system running. This is actually showing 9,911 microwatts per meter squared. So what we've got here is a significant increase in this 2.4 gigahertz frequency here in the baby's crib. So now I'm kind of measuring what the parent would be exposed to. So you can see here in the bottom kind of center of your screen here, we've got a measurement. This is actually 2,965 microwatts per meter squared. So what we're seeing is a significant increase here in this 2.4 gigahertz frequency. And according to the building biologist guidelines, you can see what we would be in is a more extreme situation here. So really just kind of some final kind of summary notes here on this first baby monitor system that I tested, which is this Wi-Fi baby monitor. What we're seeing in the baby's room here is what I've calculated here is a 2,797% increase in that Wi-Fi intensity from that baseline that we originally started with. And in the parent's room, you can see we're at a 3,347% increase in Wi-Fi intensity from that baseline. Now, even though we've got a smaller type of power density reading here, this 2,965, but we have to remember we started with a much lower baseline here. So like I said, according to the building biologist guidelines, both situations are really it's an extreme situation here that we need to deal with. Now, one thing I noticed here with this Wi-Fi system is if you actually have the app running and the camera is actually powered on, what I've measured here is that these radiation levels are constant. So it doesn't really seem to matter what the baby's doing, if the baby's not moving, if the baby's not making any sounds. the radiation that the baby would be exposed to, it seems to be constant all the time with this particular device here that I tested. Now, what's also interesting with this device is that when I went upstairs and I actually turned the app off on the smartphone, what I saw was the radiation levels kind of dropped very close back to that original baseline. And what I also noticed with this is, and I measured this for quite a long period of time, is that if there's actually no motion happening here in the baby's crib, or there's no sounds being made at all, what I found is that this camera here seems to be continuously sending pulses of electromagnetic radiation out. And this is something that was really quite concerning to me. And what you guys really need to do here is really make sure that that camera is powered down when you're not using it. I think this is very important because you could be seeing some pulsing of electromagnetic radiation coming off these cameras even when there's no motion or anything happening. So what I found here is that this camera, we actually needed to completely unplug this camera from the wall. And really, this was the only situation I found when the radiation levels would kind of disappear back to its baseline in the baby's crib. So the next test that I'm doing here is we're actually going to test out this FHSS baby monitoring system here. So the first test that I'm doing here is we're going to kind of do the same thing here is we're going to kind of establish a baseline. So what we've got here is the baby monitoring system isn't even powered up yet. And of course, I'm not using Wi-Fi for this test because this FHSS system doesn't use the Wi-Fi. It uses its dedicated kind of communication protocol. So for this test, I have the Wi-Fi off. But still, I kind of wanted to just test the 2.4 gigahertz kind of background radiation here to kind of see what kind of baseline we're starting with. And you can see down here in the bottom left of your screen, what we've got is 172 microwatts. So this is the environment that we're seeing inside the baby's crib in this case. Now, I did the same exact test upstairs in the parents' room. As you can see here, I kind of kept the exact same setup here throughout all my tests. And you can see we got the dedicated kind of LCD screen on the night table. Took my measurements on the bed about 4 feet away from the LCD device. So here I am kind of just measuring the ambient background radiation here when this baby monitor isn't even powered on yet and the Wi-Fi isn't even running. But really in both situations here, as you can see, even though we're getting readings that are much lower here, what we're still in is considered to be a severe situation here, according to the building biologist guidelines, which they're kind of setting anywhere between 10 and 1,000. As you can see, I'm kind of right in the middle there. So the next test here, what I'm doing is I'm actually taking my measurements kind of in the baby's crib in this situation. As you can see, I got the camera sitting on the tripod about 4 feet away. The FHSS kind of LCD screen is powered on upstairs. Camera is now powered on. So here we are, I'm actually taking some measurements in the baby's crib. And you can see with this technology here now that I'm actually measuring a peak measurement of 11,111 microwatts per meter squared. So this is significantly higher reading than any other reading that we've done so far. And we have to remember this type of technology, it can go up to 1,000 feet away. So this electromagnetic radiation that's in the environment here is going to be much more intense than what we're seeing with the Wi-Fi. So the next test here is I actually went up into the parents' room. You can see here I've got the LCD screen kind of sitting on the night table, taking my measurements here on the bed about 4 feet away. And everything's powered on here now, the communication to the camera in the baby's room and the LCD monitor. This communication is now live. And you can see here in the center of your screen down here in the bottom, what I'm measuring upstairs here is 21,780 microwatts. So this is the highest reading that I've taken. And the reason is because I'm only just a few feet away from this LCD screen. And this is where really the communication is happening here. And unfortunately, in this test here for the parent, whoever would be sleeping next to this LCD screen at nighttime, they're going to be the ones that are actually getting it the worst here. So really just some kind of final notes here on this FHSS system here that I just tested. What we're seeing here in the baby's room, this is a 6,359% increase in this FHSS type of electromagnetic radiation intensity here in the actual baby's crib. And in the parents' room, this is 40,994% kind of increase in that intensity in the parents' room where they're sleeping. And really what I found with this FHSS system here is that if you have the actual LCD monitor running and the camera is actually powered on next to your baby, these radiation levels that I was measuring, they're constant. Now, what I really found here is really that the only situation here is where these radiation levels kind of disappear back to the baseline is when we actually take this LCD screen and power it down, turn it completely off. And the same thing with the camera. We needed to take the camera and unplug it from the wall. This was really the only situation that I saw where these radiation levels would disappear back to the baseline. And for me, I'm really quite alarmed by this because, I mean, these baby monitor systems, primarily what they're doing is they're sensing motion, like when your baby moves, and they're also sensing sound. So if your baby starts crying and, you know, making noises, of course you kind of want to know what's going on. So I get that. But you think we could be a little bit more kind of clever with our technologies here, where that we constantly don't need to radiate the area, even when the baby is not moving and when the baby's not making any sounds. So this would be a situation where the baby's kind of sound asleep here. But with both this FHSS system and this Wi-Fi system, this is what I found. Even when there's no motion or no sound kind of happening in the crib, that electromagnetic radiation signal was constant. So your baby or your infant would be constantly this is what your baby would have to be dealing with. Now this 2.4 gigahertz technology here, this frequency hopping technology, you can see here I've got my spectrum analyzer in front of you. I apologize for the little glare on the right-hand side. I didn't really know that was there. I must have had some bad lighting. But you can see all those pulses of frequencies here. So on this axis here, this is the frequency kind of band here that this technology is operating on. And you can see that there's just lots of pulses of data. Kind of, it's very random in its nature. And I have a sense that this is really quite a destructive technology to kind of put your infant in, especially when it's so random like this. And of course, when we're dealing with this level of intensity as well. So the last thing I just wanted to kind of mention here is that I am testing out possible safer options for baby monitoring. Anyway, guys, I hope this video was somewhat helpful for you guys, and I thank you guys for watching.